Well, hello, I'm Chef Mario, and I wanted to welcome you to the reading of The Wild Robot. I'm hoping that you'll be taking time to enjoy this book, both at home and with your family. It's a fun reading, have some fun time, and now we're going to begin reading from chapter 1, okay? Here we go. It starts off with the ocean. Our story begins in the ocean with wind and rain and thunder and lightning and waves, and a hurricane roared and raged through the night. In the middle of the chaos, a cargo ship was sinking. Down, 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 down to the ocean floor. The ship left hundreds of crates floating on the surface, but as the hurricane thrashed and it swirled and it knocked them around, the crates also began sinking into the depths. One after another, they were all swallowed up by the waves. Only 5 crates remained. Que lástima, just 5. Okay. By morning, the hurricane was gone. There were no clouds, no ships, no landing, no nada in sight, nothing. There was only the calm water and clear skies. And those 5 crates, they were lazily bobbing along on ocean current. Days passed. And then a smudge of green appeared on the horizon. As the crates drifted closer, the soft green shapes slowly sharpened into the hard edges of a wild, rocky island. The first crate rode to shore on a tumbling, rumbling wave and then crashed against the rocks with such force that the whole thing just burst apart. Yeah, burst apart. Now, reader, what I haven't mentioned in the tightly packed inside each crate was a brand new robot. Okay? The cargo ship had been transporting hundreds of them before it was swept up in the storm. Now only 5 robots were left. Actually, only 4 were left because when the first crate crashed against rocks, the robot inside shattered to pieces. All right. Well, the same thing happened to the next crate. It crashed against the rocks, and the robot parts flew everywhere. Then it happened to the next crate, and the next crate, and the next crate. And the robot's limbs and torsos were flung into the ledges. A robot head splashed into the tide pool, and a robot foot skittered into the waves. And then came the last crate. It followed the same path as the others, but instead of crashing against the rocks, it sloshed against the remains of the first 4 crates. Remember, there was 5. Okay. Soon, more waves were heaving it up to the water. It soared through the air, spinning and glistening until it slammed down onto the tall shelf of rock. The crate was cracked. Well, it was crumpled, but the robot inside was safe. Yoo-hoo! Okay, now comes chapter numero 2, the otters. The island's northern shore had become something of a robot gravesite. Que triste, right? Sad. Scattered across the rocks were the broken bodies of 4 dead robots. Ooh, pobrecitos. They sparkled in the early morning light, and their sparkles caught the attention of some serious and very curious creatures. A gang of sea otters was romping through the shallows when one of them noticed the sparkling objects. The otters all froze. Yeah. They raised their noses to the wind, and they smelled only the sea. So they cautiously crept over the rocks to take a closer look. Like that. Anyway, the gang slowly approached the robot torso. The highest, no, not the highest, the biggest. The biggest otter, yeah, the biggest one. The biggest otter stuck out his paw. He swatted the heavy thing and quickly jumped back. Uy, cucuy, he said. But, cucuy, scared. But nothing happened. So they wiggled over to a robot hand. Another brave otter stuck out her paw and flipped the hand over. It made a lovely clinking sound on the rocks, and the otter squeaked with delight. They spread out and played with robot arms and legs and feet. More hands were flipped. One of the otters discovered a robot head in a tide pool, and they all dove in and took turns rolling it along the bottom. And then they spotted something else. Overlooking the gravesite was one surviving crate, solo uno. Its sides were scraped and dented, and a wide gash ran across the top. The otters scampered up the rocks and climbed onto the big box. 10 furry faces poked through the gash, eager to see what was inside. What they saw was another brand new robot. But this robot was a little different from the others.
Why is there different colors?
Pay attention. It was still in one piece. It wasn't broken. And it was surrounded by spongy packing foam. The otters reached through the gash and tore at the foam. It was so soft and squishy, they squeaked as they snatched at the fluffy stuff. Shreds of it floated away on the sea breeze. And in all the excitement, one of their paws accidentally slapped an important little button on the back of the robot's head. Click! Well, it took a while for the others to realize that something was happening inside the crate. But a moment later, they heard it. A low whirring sound, and everybody stopped and stared. And then the robot opened her eyes. Like that. Okay? And the robot's computer brains booted up. Her programs began coming online, and then, still packed in her crate, she automatically started to speak. Hello, I'm Rosen, unit number 7134. You may call me Roz or Rose. While my robotic systems are activating, I will tell you about myself. Once fully activated, I'll be able to move and communicate and learn. Simply give me a task and I'll complete it. Over time, I will find better ways of completing my tasks. I'll become a better robot. And when I'm not needed, I'll stay out of the way and keep myself in good working order. Thank you for your time. And now I'm fully activated. That's what the robot said. That's what Rose said. Chapter number 4. The robot hatches. Yeah, we're halfway there. As you might know, robots don't really feel emotions, okay? Not the way animals do. And yet, as she sat in her crumpled crate, Rose felt something like curiosity. She was curious about the warm ball of light shining down from above, so her computer brain went to work. And she identified the light. It was the sun. The robot felt her body absorbing the sun's energy. With each passing minute, she felt more awake. When the battery was good and full, Rose looked around and realized that she was packed inside a crate. Well, she tried to move her arms. They were strained by cords, so she applied more and more force. And the motors in her arms hummed a little louder, and the cords began to snap. Pop, 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 pop. Well, then she lifted her hands and pulled apart the crate like a hatchling breaking from a shell. Rose climbed out into the world. Chapter number 5. The robot gravesite. Those otters were now hiding behind a rock. Yeah. Their round heads nervously poked up, and they watched as a sparkling monster emerged from the crate. The monster slowly turned her head as she scanned the coastline. Her head turned and turned all the way around, and then it didn't stop until she was looking right at the otters. Hello. Otters, my name is Roz. The robot's voice was simply too much for the skittish little creatures. The biggest otter squeaked, and the whole gang suddenly took off. They galloped back across the robot gravesite, flopped into the ocean, and raced through the waves just as fast as they could. Roz watched as the otters go, but her eyes lingered on the sparkling objects that littered the shore. The objects looked strangely familiar. The robot swung her left leg forward and then her right, and just like that, she was taking her very first steps. She stopped away from her crate and over the rocks and through the gravesite until she was standing above a broken robot body. Yeah. She leaned in and noticed the word Rosem lightly etched on the torso. She noticed the same word on all the torsos, including her very own. Roz continued exploring the gravesite until a playful little ocean wave washed over the rocks. She automatically stepped away from it. Then a bigger wave sloshed toward her, and she stepped away again. And then a gigantic wave crashed over the rocks and engulfed the entire gravesite. Heavy water pounded against her body and knocked her back onto the ground. Boom! And her danger sensors flared for the first time. A moment later, the wave was gone and Rose lay there, dripping and dented and surrounded by dead robots. Rose could feel her survival instincts, the part of her computer brain that made her want to avoid danger and take care of herself so she could continue functioning properly. Her instincts were urging her to move away from the ocean. She carefully got onto her feet and saw that high above the shore, the land was bursting with trees and grass and flowers. It looked lush and safe up there. It looked like a much better place for her as a robot. She had just one problem, solo uno. To get up there, she would have to climb the sea cliffs. And that concludes the chapters that we're going to read for today of The Wild Robot. Here's in hopes that you will continue reading this, both at home and with your family, throughout Comal ISD, all students. And I want to thank the students today here at Goodwin Frazier for taking the time to hear me out and enjoy the story that we shared together, The Wild Robot. Thank you very much. Enjoy your reading with you and family.